Hi, I'm Kat Weichsel from Pate Group, and today I have a SharePoint mini training for you. So we have long had the opportunity to set alerts in SharePoint lists. This has been around since the beginning of time, and at some point they enhanced alerts to add additional options. More recently, though, an option for rules came about. And I want to show you, because this came up today in one of my meetings, and so I wanted to show you what the differences are between these two options and what some of the similarities are. So we're in a modern SharePoint list, and I'm going to show you on the main menu where you can get to each of these options. First, we're going to look at the classic Alert Me. And so if you click on the ellipsis menu, you can get to the option for Alert Me. If you want to see this newer option about rules, you get that through the Automate menu. And you go to Rules and create a rule. And like both of these are similar, you have an option to manage your rules, and under Alerts, you can manage your alerts. So let's just take a look briefly at what these look like. For those of you who have been using SharePoint for a long time, this is going to seem very familiar to you. The alerts menu options have been around forever. So you can have your alert title, and you can even customize that. You can have alerts sent to you. Now I'm signed in as a member of the site, so I can only have the alerts come to me. But if I were an owner on this site, I would have the option to also set alerts for other people or groups. There is an option for texting the alerts. I have never seen this used, but I'm sure there are some organizations who have turned this ability on. And then you have the classic things about the type of change that triggers that alert. Then you can even say, well, I want to only see alerts when someone else changes something. I don't want to be alerted when I'm doing stuff, which makes a lot of sense. So you can set that up. There's even something down here that only shows up if you have a filtered view on that list. You can actually set it up so that when a change happens to something in that view, you'll get alerted. And then you can set up frequency. So the default is immediate alerts, but you can also say, I only want to know once a day or even once a week. And you can specify for the weekly a day and time. So a lot of different options that are traditional options in the old classic alert. By contrast, we will come in to create a rule. And it's very simplistic. Now, Microsoft may have plans for enhancing this. I hope so. But there are some cool things that you can do in here that you cannot do in alerts. So I just want to use this time to show you the differences. This has just 4 basic options that you see. But when you go into them, especially these two, they are very, very basic. So a new item is created. We just saw that with alerts. We could do an alert for the same need. So this is super basic. Same thing with an item is deleted. But where things get a little unique, you can't in an alert say, I only want to know when a specific column changes. But here you can. You can actually say, if this column changes, if there's a change that happens in this column, then I want you to send an email. And then what you can do here is specify not only to send it to yourself, but even as a member of this site, I can set an email to be sent to someone else, something I couldn't do with an alert at this level of permission. And then one of the things I think is really cool is this list has a different column that is a people column. And so that's an option too. I could say, hey, whoever's listed in that person column in this item, email them, notify them. And so in this case, this whole list is about ideas, and the person who is listed here in this column is the person who created the idea, not necessarily the person who added that item to the list. So you could specify, let the person who had the idea know that the approval status has changed. So that's something very unique that you can do in a rule that you can't do in an alert. This gets even more granular. You could say, when a column specifically has this setting, so let's go into yeah, let's go into approval status again, but say I only want to know when it is, and let's say it's a column that has lots of choices. This one is not one, but let's say it were. You could say, I only want to know when approval status is yes. Then you've gotten very specific about what criteria you want, and then you can send the email again to these different options. So there are some really cool, unique features in these two options under rules. These two, not really unique at all. So let's go ahead and create some. I'll create the real basic one. I'm going to say when a new item is created, just send me an email. And then I'm going to do the same thing with alerts. I'll say when a new item's added, leave all the rest default. Okay. So we're going to wait a minute here, see what comes through here in email. All right, so I got an email saying that an alert has been created for me. I did not get an email saying a rule has been created. So that's one difference. Not a big deal. Okay, now we need to do something to create an actual notification. So we based this on new item. So I'm going to come in and say, I'm going to put this one in for someone else, because that's something you can do with a people column. And I'm going to save it. And this should generate 2 emails to me, one as an alert and one as a rule. Let's see. Okay. I got my rule. Kind of good looking, but not much information. The alert, not very pretty, but it has all this information in it. It tells me the title, the content, basically every single, I don't know why it's keeping everything highlighted, but it shows me every single field in that list. So it's helpful in that it shares lots of information, so I may not even have to go look at the list itself, whereas this doesn't really give me much information. I have to actually click on it to go to that item. And then I can see all the other details. So that's really the difference between what these look like. Now I'm going to run through, because I made a little list of things. Benefits of rules. So let's go into the rules. Site members can send notifications to other people. You can't do that with alerts. Only site owners can create alerts for other people. So that's one benefit of using the rule. Another benefit, you can specify a single column, like I was saying here, not something you can do in alerts, or even in this cool option, you can specify a column and a condition for that column to get a notification on. The closest you can do to do something similar in alerts is to use the filtered view option. There's really no other way, and it's not even a one-to-one comparison. So depending on what your needs are, I would try both of these options and see what's going to meet your needs the best. Because this is a pretty cool option right here of specifying a column to change and the condition that you want, that actual change that you want to keep track of. The other thing is this can specify, let me go back to this, unlike alerts, you can do a notification, not just for yourself or even for someone else. You can do a notification based on a person or group column. So these 3 columns are people or groups columns that really is a cool feature, if you ask me, that you can send to whomever is listed in that particular column. Definitely not something you can do with an alert. Okay, let's look at alerts. What are the perks in here? So in alerts, site visitors readers of the site can create alerts for themselves. You can't actually create a rule if you are a site visitor. You can do things in alerts like change the title, which, I mean, I don't know if that's that exciting of a feature, but it's an option that's not available. You can't customize really anything of the rules. You can send an alert as a text message. You can do things like say all changes, which is not really an option in the rules. Rules, you can do new items, edited items, or specific changes, but you can't do this kind of global all changes. You can specify when someone else has changed something, which to me, I used to use this kind of alert all the time because if I were actively working in a list, I didn't want to get a bunch of emails from my activity, but I did want to know when anybody else did stuff. So I like this feature and it's not available in the rules. Any changes that affect a filtered view. And finally, I think the biggest thing, I mean, other than frequency, I will say there are some people who don't want to know things immediately. They would like, especially for an active list that's changing all the time, you may just want to sit back and wait and get a daily summary or even a weekly summary. That's not an option with rules. But the big number one thing, I think, other than the changes we just talked about, the biggest bonus really for alerts is the fact that when you look at that email, you actually see all the information for that list item. To me, that's really key. So let's generate one more set of information. I'm going to do one more rule. I'm going to do these in a similar fashion. So I'm going to say this approved column. So it's going to be similar as far as what will happen here. So I'm going to take something that was a no and make it a yes. That was just dinging, telling me that I have a new alert created again. So I'm going to say, let's change this to yes. So that's been updated. So it should trigger an alert and a rule notification. This is just that thing we get with new alerts. Anytime you get a new alert created for you, it creates this message and sends it to you. It doesn't happen with rules. So now we'll just wait and see when those messages roll in. And here we go. We got both messages. This is why I like the alert. It's telling me what changed and it's still giving me all the other information on the item. I love it. I can see this was edited. That's why I got the alert, but I can see all the details. This, not so much. All it says is change the approval status to yes for that item. So hands down, I think even though they're not as attractive, I mean, this isn't terribly attractive anyway, but alerts really do, for this kind of information, win as far as I'm concerned. But if you have any of those unique scenarios where you would really like to set up a rule, those benefits of rules that I was covering, use rules. You can use them both. Well, have fun with this. I hope you learned something today.